My name is Dare Bullock. I'm beef specialist at the University of Kentucky, and welcome to tonight's webinar. Unfortunately, tonight we're in a little bit of a different situation than what we would planned on. We had good intentions of good coming tonight and having a good time of question and answering, and just enjoying kind of each other's company. I still hope we can enjoy each other's company, but our situation has certainly changed since where we were when we initially planned this webinar. So I thank everyone for joining us tonight. I just want to start from the beginning of saying our thoughts and prayers and best wishes are with everyone involved in this situation. Uh, we haven't lived through it, but well, actually some of us on here have lived through it. Not me, but some of the others of my colleagues have, and we're thinking about you and hoping the best for everybody. I wanted to start off. We've got a great panel tonight of folks that agreed to come on, and most of them in the very last minute kind of a situation, and we greatly appreciate everyone that's able to be on as a panelist. I'm going to read off everybody that is planning to be on tonight. Now, some had other commitments and they weren't sure, and they might be on for only a part of the time, but we certainly have a lot of resources that are going to be available to folks, and we want to try and share as much of that as we can. So we're going to start off tonight, myself and some of the other beef specialists. I want to give them the opportunity to make some opening comments as well. But then we're going to start off with some of our agents. We hopefully are going to have Sarah Fannin, Courtney Jenkins, and Daniel Wilson. Daniel's no longer an agent. He's moved up in the ranks, but those folks dealt with a similar situation in Eastern Kentucky a few years ago. Wanted them to share a little bit of their perspective with us tonight first. Then I asked Shane Bogle to come on, and Shane's on, I know, and Shane is in the heart of the hit area this go around. Wanted Shane to kind of give us some perspective from an agent's point of view down there, and kind of what some of the typical needs are. We know that those are varied, but I think Shane can give us some good perspective. I asked Dr. Craig Wood to come on. I know that he's been working diligently to coordinate a lot of the activities, particularly the donations that are going to be coming into a lot of the county extension offices, and then from there going out to the affected extension offices. We have hopefully Mr. Chris Crumrine from the UK Dean's office to kind of share some of the perspective that they have going on. We have Keith Rogers and Dr. Katie Flynn, the state veterinarian from the Kentucky Department of Ag, and I see Mr. Quarles is on too. We appreciate them, and hopefully get some comments from KDA. We also have from Kentucky Farm Bureau, I think Renee Carrico is who's going to be speaking for Farm Bureau tonight. I know they've been putting some efforts out as well. Kentucky Cattlemen's Association, Becky Thompson will be with us tonight, and also Jennifer Farmer from USDA FSA office. And then I've asked Dr. Amanda Gumbert. She's going to give us some perspective, some of the issues that are involved with water quality tonight, and hopefully be able to have some question and answer period there at the end before we close. So let me start off just by my other colleagues, and Les, I'll start with you. You're first alphabetically, and if you wanted to share any perspective tonight or kind of make any opening comments.
You bet, Dare. Don't really have too much to say other than, the devastation is more than we can imagine right now. I know Commissioner Quarles, you've been down there, but a lot of us haven't yet. And we're going to get to see it tomorrow as we go down to support UKREC and trying to get our facilities back, in working order, or at least in working enough order, right, Dr. Van Valen? But anyhow, for those, I just want to thank everybody that joined tonight. And we're probably going to have thousands on Facebook watch this, and we just appreciate everything that you can do for the people of Western Kentucky, and to help support and rebuild their lives. So anyhow, I appreciate everybody here, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Lemcooler.
I too just want to say that we feel for everybody, and unfortunately, we can't rebuild everything quickly, but know that things will be rebuilt, and hopefully it'll build stronger communities over this course of time. The thing just to realize is that we're here to help any way that we can, and particularly on helping agents and trying to get contacts made. I know we've had great input already. Folks from Tennessee, North Carolina, and other surrounding states are here to help as soon as we have kind of that game plan and coordination ready to go. And so I want to also thank all of our neighboring states that are offering a hand to give us some help as we work through this. So at this time, I'd go ahead and turn it over to Kevin Laurent.
We have Kevin on. I'm not sure if he's able to be on. I hadn't seen him.
He's there.
How
He
about
is.
now? How about now? Can you hear me now?
We got you,
got you.
Kevin.
Yeah, I'm on my iPhone. I had to drive down the road to get a signal. I don't have my workstation, to zoom in. So I guess that's an understatement. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate this whole deal tonight. I think it's a great move by y'all to try to do this. I'll just real briefly, I will tell you our phones, and I think Katie, Dr. Van Balen will and Shane Bogle will all attest to this. Our phones are just blowing up. Once we finally got some cell coverage, everybody's wanting to help. And honestly, I'm a little bit overwhelmed on where to steer people. And I think hopefully tonight had another major request right when I got home tonight. And I'm hopefully tonight we'll know where to start steering people and where to point them, what kind of direction to go in. We've got an awful lot of folks wanting to help. It's just overwhelming. And so that's what I hope to get out of this.
Katie,
Katie?
you want to?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Katie Van Balen, and I'm our beef specialist that's housed at the Princeton Research Center, or what is left of it at the moment. And of course, we've been badly impacted by the tornadoes that came through, and I'll echo what Kevin said. It's been overwhelming. I mean, as early as Saturday morning, really before we even had a full idea of the scope of the damages at the research station, I had folks from as far away as Iowa wanting to come and help us and do what they can do, anything that they could do to help us. And so, having been in Western Kentucky over the last several days, it's definitely a little bit overwhelming. And I'll echo what Kevin said. This is good to really help understand where to direct folks, because there's certainly an overwhelming number of people that want to jump in and help. We're going to need their help in the coming days and months. The people of Western Kentucky are really, really hurting right now. And, we'll need help for many more months to come. And so this is going to be a really good opportunity for us to all kind of learn where our roles can be and what we can do.
Thank you, Katie. I hope everyone appreciates this is kind of we've got this pulled together kind of last minute, and I've noticed my first mistake. I left Ann Franklin off from the governor's office, and I apologize for that, but she's on here with us tonight to give us a little bit, a few words from the governor's office as well. So sorry about that. And if that's the only mistake I make tonight, I'll feel pretty good about it. So I wanted to start off, I hope you guys will indulge me, and I don't know, maybe a lot of you have already seen this, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I wanted to share a little bit of the video that the college put out, just to kind of give you some perspective at the beginning of that video of what the station did look like and kind of what it looks like now for those of you that haven't seen it. So if you'll indulge me just a minute, I'm going to play that. I don't know if it has sound, but you'll be able to get the perspective anyway.
There, we're not seeing it, bud.
Are you not seeing anything?
No,
Not seeing the thing, man.
Well, sorry. We'll forget that then, because it must be my signal out here. So now that I've got a captive audience, since we have Mr. Quarles on here, I'm in Scott County too, and we don't have internet service out here. So get us some internet. How about that? Sorry. We're going to go ahead then with, I haven't seen, I can't look at the whole list, folks. So y'all going to have to help me if we have Sarah or Courtney or Daniel on. And Jeff's shaking his head yes. So if you guys don't mind and you know, just kind of briefly give us an idea. You guys have been through this and are familiar with a lot of what works and what doesn't work. I think that you could share with us. So I don't know who wants to go first, but if you guys could give us some kind of insight into what we have to look forward to over the next week, month, and even year, we'd appreciate it.
Dare, I guess I'll go ahead and start. First of all, my heart goes out to Dr. Valen and the other agents that are directly involved with this. Courtney and Daniel and I have shared that this process has brought back so many of our own memories, and we cannot imagine the magnitude of what's happening there. Unfortunately, a lot of the lessons we learned is that the first one for me is this really is a long haul process, that there will be sights and sounds and smells that will stay with you forever. I really want to preach self-care for everyone that's involved with relief efforts and directly there on the ground. Please, you are a victim as well. We didn't think that since we didn't lose our personal homes, that we were victims, that we were taking care of everyone else, but we saw what it did to our communities, and it did really take a toll on us extension agents. The debris cleanup is the easiest part. At the time, it seemed very overwhelming, and the chaos is very real. But our disaster organizations, there is a process, there is a procedure in place once that you can establish that contact. At the time, we didn't realize really behind the scenes all of those steps, those were agencies that we had not dealt with before. But you're all still very much in this beginning process of the recovery and the immediate needs to be met. So just quickly, all of the help coming in, yes, is very overwhelming. And I heard that in your voice, Kevin. If there is any way, because you all are so hands-on, if there is any way that there can be an organizational system set up that you can direct these people to someone who can just follow you or be your shadow or be your contact in your office to try to, as much as you want to be able to respond to these people and as much as these people want to talk to you all as well, you're going to have to guard your time and space in your mind as well to keep from being so overwhelmed. Practicality is the other issue of the things to be asked for or being sent. And this is, I'm kind of speaking more to our donors, things like solar chargers for fencing and solar chargers for cell phones. Those are some of the most practical things that we were able to receive and help. 20 cages for parakeets really didn't help us too terribly much, but I think they did help a couple of families, so that's okay. But in the fundraising part, even though the needs will be greater much later on, the fundraising needs to be done now while there is so much attention being given. But the long-term impacts, even on the cattle herds, we didn't realize that there were so many that were aborted in this later on, that they lost entire spring calf crops. So some of those things just kind of keep in mind with health issues. And then I'll just reiterate something that Courtney said yesterday. Our farmers, when we were doing our relief efforts, they would tell us they didn't need anything, or they would say, my neighbor down the road needs it worse. give it to them, though they themselves were hurting. And so we just, at one point, we saw the damage. We knew that they needed things. And so the agents from the surrounding counties just loaded up their pickup trucks and would just go to these places and drop the things off there at the farmers. And then we would receive, a very grateful response. But just keep in mind that a lot of these folks will want you to give to someone else who they think is more deserving, even though themselves are victims of this. So that's all that I have. Once again, if I can be of assistance, just talk. I certainly would be more than glad to make myself available. And we're doing some things here on this end because we really want to pay forward everything that was sent to us. But just a quick, don't get your hopes too built up. We are just now hopefully getting our first check from FEMA, and it's been almost 10 years. So hopefully we're going to get that in the mail next week, but we're not holding our breath. But anyway, it is a long-term process. It really is.
Thanks, Sarah. And
I left out.
Courtney, Daniel, y'all have some additional information to add?
I think Sarah did a great job. She hit on a lot of the things that were really important for us when we went through all of that in 2012. And Sarah failed to mention that she lost her office. Her office was condemned in the March 2nd, 2012 tornado. But even though it went through parts of Menifee County, and that's where I was working at the time, we didn't lose our office. So we didn't have that to deal with like Sarah did, but Daniel and I were able to step in and kind of help take the load off of her. So I would just encourage any agents in the area who didn't have the damage, but have the ability to go out and, like Sarah said, maybe shadow some of these agents who are out there in the middle of all of these relief efforts and just take part of the load off of them and be able to designate some of these responsibilities to other people. That means a whole lot. And I had talked to Katie yesterday about some of the things that were helpful for us that maybe they hadn't thought about. She was discussing some of the debris removal in the pastures at Princeton. And one of the big things that we found was those big commercial magnets. Those are handy, those are helpful. It's probably something that if we could figure out a way to get those to a lot of the farmers in the area, there's going to be a lot of metal and nails that needs to come out of those pastures as well. That's not going to be as easy to pick up. So those magnets do come in handy. And KACAA, we've talked about coming up with a way to be able to get our hands on some of those and get those out to some of the folks down that way. But Sarah's right. The farmers are the last people to admit that they need help with everything. So just getting out there and knowing where the damage is and who needs it is going to be the biggest help.
Thanks, Courtney. Daniel, something to add?
Yeah, just the last thing, I'll just say that it was, it's a difficult thing. Kevin was talking there about the overwhelming factor of that. We had, I had 2 cell phones going at the same time during this period. We got another one just because for just the phone calls that were coming in. So we actually had lists for the items that were coming in for donations. We had lists of the farmers that needed things that were calling. And then we had lists of the people that were going out to help, pick up the debris, help put the fences back up. So I would just encourage you, as you're doing those things, what's coming in, to keep those lists so you know what you got, so you know who's donating what, so you know how much money is tied to that, so that we can, at the end of the day, say, what does it all mean? What's been the impact to the community for these organizations and these people that are donating these items. And so that's important as well. And we found too that we did it for several weeks, and so I think too that and even though it's so fresh and new, I think something that needs to be in your mind is there has to be an end point too. So I mean, so I would encourage that. It might have went on a little too long. So at times for us, because at the end you're getting in things that people might not be able to use or need, and there might be people might be getting things that maybe not have no damage at all. So just keep those things in mind, and it's a difficult thing. And our rule was when we did this is I'll say this is that when we did this back in 2012 was if it come in we it went out. If people were good enough to donate it, we made sure that it got into good hands, and the people that needed it, like Sarah said, the driving around, making sure people got something, because the farming community is some of the most prideful people in the entire world, and they're not going to want to ask. And and they may be working and preparing, they may be working and fixing something on their farm that may not be able to even take time to go pick something up. So just think about that. When we started delivering things, I think it kind of elevated our support for our areas, the counties that were affected. But it was one of the most challenging times too. I'll say this: the last thing I'll say was one of the most challenging times for me as in my life. Just the time working, like Sarah said, even though it wasn't, we wasn't personally affected by that, but it was, being able to take care of yourself mentally yourself as you're going through this and working is also very important. Remembering to eat, making sure that your people that are helping you have good meals and that are taking time to eat, and that don't forget to do those things as well. And I think Sarah and Courtney would echo that as well. Somebody brought us a chicken fingers or something from the Index IGA that was it was some of the best food I've ever had. And so with that being said, it was. So just remember that the people that are helping, they need that support too. And we support you all, and we're sending our love from the east to the west, and let us know how we can.
Well, thank you, guys.
Say that I do
Yep.
not remember chicken fingers from the local IGA. So I must have been out delivering something that day. But I do remember Sarah's mom sending a crock pot of chicken and dumplings one day, and that was amazing. So and Daniel's right too, he was talking about it being a really challenging time, but I felt like it was also probably the most rewarding time in my career also, just being able to get out there and help those people, and you really got to see the fruit of your labor, so to speak. And we worked a lot of long hours, but it was definitely worth it. So
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. I know that this week has brought up a lot of old memories and a few scars, maybe even, and we do appreciate it. I said that wasn't going to be my last mistake, and I was right. I blamed the internet, and it was my brain that was malfunctioning. I forgot to hit the share button. So Shane, before I have you go on, since this is right down the road from you, I want to share that video a little bit, and this time I'm going to actually share it. How about that? Is that better?
I can see it there.
Yes, thank you.
Of course, you can't hear the sound, but that's the newly renovated UKRC REC. And there it is.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. I can get that YouTube link up for you if anybody wants to see the entire thing. It's I tell you what, it really shows the the power and the force of nature and what it can do. I've witnessed the aftermath of some hurricanes, a volcano, and some other things, and I tell you what, this matches all of them. It's pretty unbelievable. So with that, Shane, if you don't mind unmuting and sharing a little bit with us, your perspective down there from an agent right in the middle of the whole thing, and maybe what some of the needs are from folks on your side of the world. And we have some resource pages and all that, but just like to hear a little bit from you if we could.
I did see that Dr. Wood shared the link to that YouTube video in the chat where folks can see that entire thing there. So just a little history. The research center is pretty near and dear to my heart. I went to work there in '94 as a student worker and have been close to that ever since. So when I originally went that direction Saturday morning, I was actually going to check on a friend of mine that lives next door to the research center and did not know what kind of damage. I knew he had damage. So it was a very surreal moment driving up and seeing all your childhood gone and running into the folks that had survived that, just very recently being out of the rubble of that event. So one thing about extension agents is they don't wait for, and I know this is true with Daniel and Courtney and Sarah, that we don't wait for orders and things to do. We start. It might not be the right thing right at the beginning, but I do appreciate Monday morning, kind of first thing, that I was able to get on a Zoom call with Courtney and Sarah and get some of this one-on-one advice of moving forward, because the phone calls for me started about midday Saturday, and I thought an extension agent's phone rang a lot, but my goodness, it doesn't ring a lot until something like this happens. So I'm still a little bit numb. The sleep has not got caught up yet. And some of the places that we were just able to get into today, I did help make some food deliveries today in an area where the body recovery was finally complete and beginning to assess the farmer damage. I will say that we are fairly blessed here in the beef side, where the path of this went through was a whole lot of our grain production area. So we do have a lot of fences gone. We have some cattle still missing at different places, but it's not the extent on the beef side as what I was fearing as we got out. So we'll be meeting tomorrow morning with USDA and getting our numbers together. I feel I've got a pretty good feel for what the damage is. And one thing that is hard, we've had calls from as far away as Colorado of people wanting to leave and head this direction with materials. We don't know yet what all those materials are, much less where we're going to put them. I know the Eastern Kentucky folks had the farm, extension farm there that had just been purchased as kind of a staging area for all this. And looks like as of right now, we're going to have about 4 for the amount of stuff that's coming in. Our facilities here are already pretty much full. Our shop building and where we store a lot of things is almost already full. And there's no agriculture products. There's no fencing. It's all the overflow from our churches and food and clothes and stuff like that. So the meeting tomorrow we are having with our local ag leaders is determining where we're going to accept this hay. We did have several horse farms that lost their hay storage facilities, and wet square hay and horses does not mix. We can set out a roll of hay and a wet roll of hay and a cow's going to be okay, but a horse is not. So we do have a rather large equine industry here in Caldwell. So we've been spending a lot of time with those folks getting those needs. And Daniel is absolutely right. All of those guys are right. The farmers will not tell you. It's just, we're going out and walking out and seeing what's going on. Because, oh, we're fine. I run into a man at a farm store on Saturday that was buying something unrelated, and his daughter and father lost their homes completely. All their fences are gone. he didn't say a word. He was buying something unrelated and cutting and joking up with the farm supply store. So this is definitely a learning experience, and trying to divide my time, Courtney and Daniel, is very difficult. I feel I did have a family member that house was in the very center of one of the neighborhoods. So I did have to spend some time getting him seen to and secured and try to do this at the same time. And it is hard drawing that line of where do we help continue helping people, continue taking these calls and help our family at the same time. And I think they probably would not have changed what they done. And we're just gonna go till we can't go anymore. And any help logistically, I wished I had extra folks here that could help. And I'm hoping this meeting tomorrow with our ag folks that we can kind of unite to kind of divide those responsibilities up, because these people that are calling says, we know to call extension. That's what I hear across. And this is just people that are calling. You know, we looked it up. That's the first place we looked up in the phone book, was we know extension takes care of things. And so we're plodding along. We appreciate the outpouring of support. Greatly appreciate the calls for materials and things. And we'll do our best to get it where it needs to go.
Thank you, Shane. I really appreciate you taking your time out to share with us tonight. I think that helps and gives a good perspective. And along the lines of what you were talking about, and that's the coordination of all this, I asked Dr. Craig Wood to come on tonight and kind of talk about some of the efforts. He's the assistant dean for programming of the A&R agents. And so Craig, if you don't mind kind of sharing, I know you guys have been extremely busy the last couple of days getting this whole effort coordinated. So if you don't mind sharing some of that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, Dara, I'll be glad to. I'll start out by saying it's a joint effort. If some of you saw the press release that was sent out on behalf of Commissioner Quarles last night, they termed it as we're teaming up together with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, Kentucky Farm Bureau, and the College and Cooperative Extension to help handle some of the things you're talking about, Shane, some of the logistics of things that need to get done and supplies that need to be delivered and get them to the right folks that need to have that. So I'll share a little bit, Keith. I know you're on here and I saw Commissioner Quarles, and y'all can fill in what we're doing on things that I might leave out, but I'll hit the high points on what we're doing. Basically, the way I look at it is the Kentucky Department of Agriculture is kind of coordinating things, and we in Cooperative Extension are implementing. What we're asking agents to do is that as you have needs that are identified in your county by farmers, is that you use the special email in the email document I sent out to you today to send that to the Kentucky Department of Agriculture. They are creating a database in which to handle those needs. And then they will send an email out each day to their commodity group council, which consists of all the commodity groups and all of the agribusinesses in the state, of the needs that farmers have. They will then, as those entities identify they can meet those needs, they will match those up with the counties and farmers that requested that. And they will then contact the county agent and work with them to get those materials and supplies to that farmer in need. So what we're asking our agents to do, and these are agents all across the state, because we're having people contact those agents on how they can help. We're trying to coordinate it in one central location in the Department of Ag in which to distribute those back out. Shane, we've identified, as I put in the email, about 5 counties that serve as kind of staging areas. We've added another one today, Hardin County, as a staging area, particularly for things that may be coming from the east that may be identified through this process with the Department of Agriculture, if they need to be brought to a place and then move further. So also we're asking if people like out of state that are contacting you, If you want to, you can pass those on to me, and I will make sure that information gets to the Department of Agriculture so we can identify those needs that they're saying they want to bring material, fencing materials, and those kinds of things. Once we have them in that database, then we can allocate that and get it to the places that are needed in the state that are having those needs. So it's a special email address that you use to send that. It's basically just within, we want to keep that email address within our system and within the folks that are working on providing results and supplies and materials to the farmers that need it within the different counties that are working in it. Also in that email, as Dr. Quarles has already put in the chat you saw there, Kentucky Farm Bureau has created a GoFundMe page that people can donate to, and those funds go to farmers to help in the relief effort and agribusinesses to help in the relief effort that will take place over the next several months. One thing I heard said, and I think this is a really good idea, and I'm going to carry this to our administration tomorrow, is I think it's a really good idea that you brought up about agents helping or shadowing other agents. I think that's something that we can do really pretty easily, is to get some additional agents there to help you, Shane, and others I know in those counties, Muhlenberg and Ohio counties, Warren counties that are dealing with this, to kind of help with some of that relief and handle some of the logistics for you and handle some of those phone calls that may be coming in. So I think that's something that we can help, that we'll surely talk with Courtney and Daniel and them to how best do that, since they've had some experience in it, and then get some additional help down there to you, Kevin, the agents, Kevin, Laurent, and Katie as well, to provide some support. But that's what we're doing with KDA. And trying to centrally locate and provide some logistics and some coordination and make it much more efficient on getting things to where people need with communication and all. So if you have anything like that, feel free to contact me and let me know. I'm working very closely with Keith Rogers on this so that we can make things very efficient and very fluid in the way we're doing it. So Dare, I'll turn it over to you. And I don't know if you have, it might be good to have Keith follow in with that so he can hit what I might have missed.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much, Craig. And I think a big part of the gist of what Craig's saying, particularly if you're wanting to help out, is get a hold of your local county agent. That's probably the best first place to stop to try and see how you can help out in this situation, making any donations or things like that, or if it's cash donations, that GoFundMe site. And someone asked if that was specifically for farmers, and I think Keith can answer that question. I think I know the answer, but Keith, I'm going to turn it over to you. We appreciate KDA being on tonight and the commissioner, and so I'm going to turn it over to you, and if the commissioner would like to make some comments as well.
Yes, Daryl. In fact, let me let the commissioner go first, and then I'll follow up. And if it's okay with you, we'll let Katie follow me, and we'll just take out KDA real quickly. That's okay.
That sounds fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone joining us tonight. 40 seconds. That's how long the tornado, on average, went through a community, excluding rain and other inclement weather, but 40 seconds changed a lot of people's lives. I just finished up a 2-day survey of Western and West Kentucky, and as was said earlier, the pictures that you see on the media, there's not a lens big enough that captures the magnitude of destruction, basically from the Mississippi River to just south of Louisville. We actually had structure losses in Shelby County as well. And the pictures speak for themselves, but first and foremost, our thoughts and prayers are with the recovery effort and the humanitarian effort and us helping feed people. On the ag side, I just want to say a special thanks to Extension, APHIS, Dr. Flynn, of course, Keith Rogers, and all those have been working literally since Friday evening and Saturday morning nonstop. I think it was important that you started off with the Princeton Research Center, because for a lot of the farmers that were affected the most, even if they did not have damage, they know about the Princeton Research Center. We just cut the ribbon 2 years ago. I walked through it yesterday, and it literally took a direct hit. And my advice is that prepare yourself mentally for what you're about to see. And I know that we will rebuild, but it's also important to touch upon the mental health effects of our producers out in rural Kentucky. We've been working on that for some time. The goal of tonight is to turn chaos into structure and to have an orderly method to receive information. A lot of us are getting folks who want to donate either money or materials or services. And the simple issue here is how to effectively administer those. So why extension? Well, you know the producers. We are a county-oriented state. And so I got on the phone on Saturday and talked with Dean Cox as well as Drew Graham and others to help coordinate this as somewhat of a three-legged stool where KDA helps organize and administer, Farm Bureau helps promote and get the word out, and Extension helps with that one-on-one donation in, donation out receivership. We want to make sure that we don't duplicate efforts. We want to make sure that we're efficient with our time and resources. And so it's important for us to know our place and know our lane. But the structural losses across Kentucky are going to be immense. Of course, the short-term immediate goal is to focus on animal welfare. I know Dr. Flynn's been working on that in particular as we go forward. But we want to make sure that we have the flexibility as well. That's why we started the GoFundMe page just 24 hours ago. We're about to hit $30,000 with over 200 donors from across the United States. And this fund is meant to be used for flexibility. That's why Farm Bureau is administering this through a nonprofit branch of their organization. So it's not KDA, it's not UK, but it's requests for immediate needs. And so we're going to be helping promote that. If you don't mind promoting that as well. So those are resources that we can share. The last thing that I have is that I had a great conversation with Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, today about all the different programs that USDA as well as our office has to offer. And as those are being rolled out and eligibility becomes reality, we'll be sure to share that with you. But as was discussed earlier, a tornado that ripped through eastern Kentucky, a check was just administered 10 years later. We're looking for ways for immediate and pragmatic results, and that's why we started the GoFundMe page. So number one, it's so important that as you talk to producers that you get an accurate list of ask and what they need so that we can match them up with donations, and so that we're not duplicating efforts and that we're actually able to get materials into the hands or services that are needed to those who need it the most. So I'll stop right there. And I just want to say a sincere thank you to everybody that's going to be involved in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Craig, let me say thanks to you and all the UK administrative staff and Dean Cox and Chris and everybody that's been a part of this in the last 48 hours or so as we put this effort together. As the Commissioner mentioned, he's put the GoFundMe account there, but just in case some of you cannot see it, I'll share it with you. It's gofundme.com/KYAG Relief Fund. And so if you want to share that through social media any way that you all find a way to put that out, we certainly would appreciate that. The main thing that I wanted to visit with you, Craig, is very well outlined and laid out. The email that went out in his the email address that went out in his email today is going to, in fact, actually I logged on just a few minutes ago to get the first couple emails off of it. And that's going to be the way for extension agents and county extension offices to communicate in and out with us as far as those items. It's very important that the extension office, the ag agent, whoever in that organization is sending that information to us. We need a couple things and we will, if it's missing, we'll let you know. But we need to know from the county who that point of contact is. Contact information, email, cell phone. We also need to know, and this has not been distributed and realized this afternoon in a call, we need to know the delivery point. If it's not the extension office, then we're going to need to know where you want these items that you're requesting delivered once the items have been identified and the donor has been identified. But as we all kind of figure this out and we work out the kinks over the next few days, next few weeks, we will, if you send something in and we're missing a piece of information, we'll get right back to you to let you know what we need there. The one thing that I think is most important for me to share with you tonight is that these requests coming into KDA need to come from the Extension Office. We cannot take direct requests from producers. We simply do not have the manpower, the resources to manage individual requests. And so if we do have an individual contact us, if that email gets shared and used, or if we have one come in directly to our AgWeb account at KDA or to me or any of our staff, we're going to ask that producer to contact their local extension office and share that request that they have through the extension office so that we keep these bundled within the counties and we can manage the massive requests that we're expecting and that we're starting to see. The other piece that's added to this over the last 24 hours is beyond our commodity organization and the farm groups that make up the Kentucky Ag Council and that whole network of individuals that we have at KDA, we are adding all of the contacts that we have to that distribution list each day as far as donors go. We've seen an explosion, as you can imagine, in the last 24 hours or so since Monday morning in people wanting to help. And we're taking their information, we're adding those emails, that contact information to our distribution list that we'll be sending out every day, letting folks know what the needs are and what county that need is in. That's one of the important things that we're doing. When we send that list out, we'll identify where the need is by county so that if they're close by, they're far away, at least they have some concept when they come back to us and say, I'll deliver those 500 fence posts. Then they know where they're going, at least in general terms, with those before. So we're not wasting time in figuring out logistics and all that sort of stuff. But once we get your request, the agents, we find the donor and make the match, we will connect those two. We'll connect the agent or the contact in the county with the donor and let you all logistically work out the delivery time, the delivery method. That way forklifts, tractors, whatever may need to be can be done. We won't be the middleman here from the standpoint of handling those logistics. We'll connect the donor and the recipient and let them logistically work out that for themselves. The other thing I want to share with you this evening is we've just this afternoon put up a KDA website. Just as we did with COVID last year, we put up a website to provide disaster information, disaster assistance information. Some of it was already available. Some of it we've created in the last 24 hours, but it's kyagr.com/tornado. Again, kyagr.com/tornado. And we'll continue to populate that website with information, I'm sure, throughout this week and possibly next as things develop. So with that, I'll stop and I'll turn it over to Dr. Flynn. And then, of course, Daryl will be answering. I'll stay on to the end and answering questions whenever that's appropriate.
Thanks, Keith. Yeah, just to reiterate what Keith said, the website that is posted up on the screen right now, that website does have some resource materials for one of the most common questions we're getting regarding depopulation or disposal of carcasses and disposal methods. We know there's been some limitations on disposal methods and how we can get these carcasses handled. So there are resources on there for that specific purpose. One thing we'll also mention is we did get an executive order that is, we have a 48-hour requirement for carcass disposal, and that regulation has been suspended by an executive order by the governor's office and the attorney general. So that has been put aside. So for folks, we just ask that they do it as timely as possible for that purpose. The other thing that's been an issue is going to be fencing, and we are aware of that, and we do have resource requests, but we want to make people know, we need to know specifics of what type of fencing and what is the specifics regarding how much fencing they need. The other thing I would call to your attention is we're trying to get our hands around the number of animals impacted in the areas. So we are working with Farm Service Agency for their reporting of indemnity for that purpose. So those are the areas that we are focusing on right now. If there's resources or information regarding the well-being or the health or the disposal, please let us know what your needs are. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Flynn. We appreciate that from KDA and all the efforts that are going in. As it was said earlier, this is truly a team effort, and there's nothing like everybody coming together in a crisis. It's unfortunate, but at least that's something that human nature seems to do quite well. I wanted to, while we're with the state government, I wanted to, we have Ann Franklin from the governor's office. I wanted to see if Ann would like to come on and make some comments as well. Are you with us, Ann?
Yes, I'm here. I would just like to say that the governor and lieutenant governor both have pulled resources from the executive branch. We've collaborated with the state vet's office and Craig Wood and commodity groups and others to just evaluate the needs and how the different cabinets from the executive branch can help support the industry and to really rebuild and recover together. As many of you have said, it's devastating as to what we're seeing in Western Kentucky. And in times like this, we have to come together and work together to evaluate what everybody needs, but to also rebuild. And the governor this week has created an agriculture working group. We met today. I know there were some extension representatives and commodity groups, and we had the state vet on with us as well, just to really address the carcass removal and pulling the energy and environment cabinet in and discussing proper methods, the BMPs and processes for all of that. So I'm thankful for the executive branch and the resources they have pulled to help rapidly with the state vet's office and to address those needs. And we're here for anything we can do to be of support. Any resources we have, just reach out and let us know.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you very much, Ann. We appreciate it, and once again, we're all in this thing together and getting through it. I just got a message from Chris Crumrine from the dean's office, and he said just wanted to pass along that he's been involved with all this and is supportive. He's particularly been working a lot with what Craig has been working on. So Chris, unless you have some specific comments you'd like to make, we're going to move on. Are we good?
Yeah, that's fine, Dr. Bullock. Like I mentioned, I keep going with the rest of our partners. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to join everyone tonight and Dr. Wood's leadership in conjunction with KDA and Farm Bureau.
Thank you very much. There's been a lot mentioned about the dead animal disposal, and we have Amanda Gumbert on, and if it's okay, we're gonna come to you in just one second. Amanda, I want to really quickly, because I have Renee Carrico on here from Kentucky Farm Bureau, and what Farm Bureau is working with kind of goes along with what we were just talking about too. So Renee, I'm going to turn it over to you if you have any additional comments to make following up the what's been discussed so far.
Yeah, and I'll be quick. Thanks, Dare. First, I want to go ahead and apologize. Our leadership, part of them are in DC right now for our resolutions. That's an annual thing you all are aware of with American Farm Bureau. And then Drew has been in Western Kentucky with quite a few of you on this call all week and is actually still en route. And with unreliable cell service, I went ahead and took the lead on this because we didn't want him to cut out. But a lot of what I'm going to say is just going to kind of be ditto. We need to have a unified front. I'm obviously from Princeton. I kind of have the same background like Shane. My first job was at the UK Research Farm. So this hits home. And I'm definitely not the only one at Farm Bureau that can say those kinds of things. So the GoFundMe is the quick one that's probably the most available that we're a part of, that we've already discussed and put the link up for. The only other piece that I did want to make you guys aware of is we have another one that's been mostly for our local farm bureaus and then the out-of-state farm bureaus that have been really interested in sending monetary amounts. We've got a check option and then also a PayPal option with a link. That's going to be called KFB for Kentucky Relief Fund. I sent that link to Dare, and I apologize, I've been on the road today as well, but I sent that link to him. So if we do a follow-up email or anything, I'm sure it'll be on that, but that's going to go specific, and we're kind of gathering in our areas some of our farmers that are needing support as well in conjunction with extension. And then the obvious piece that is kind of obvious when you talk about Farm Bureau, our insurance half has obviously been very busy. We have, I think, 20 to 40 adjusters coming from outside of Kentucky, from other farm bureaus coming to help, because the faster we get these claims done, the faster some of these guys can rebuild. So if you're seeing them out on the roads, or if you know a member that has Farm Bureau insurance, obviously I'm here from the Federation side, but if you have someone in your county that's having issues getting an adjuster out there, please contact your local Farm Bureau, your area program director, because ironically the signs are down for these roads. So these out-of-state adjusters are obviously having a hard time finding some of the farms in the location. So if you haven't been seen or something, please let us know and we'll try to get you connected, because they should have seen almost every member by now, at least once, and most of them are making a second or third trip. So it kind of be remiss to not at least mention the insurance half. That's kind of the elephant in the room that's in the back of everyone's mind at all times during some of these things.
All right, thank you, Renee, and I apologize. I meant to put that up on the slide and didn't get it done. So if you don't mind, can you put it in the chat and send it out, that link? That would be fantastic.
Will do.
Thank you much. And with that, Amanda, I see you're on, and I do have a slide made for yours that I'll share with some of your links. And I saw that you put them in the chat as well. So, Amanda, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. And thank you all for all the hard work that you're doing out there. I know sometimes it's not front of mind about environmental issues when we have these kinds of disasters, but those two publications that we have and that I've dropped in the chat are two really important documents that we can share with farmers and give them options for disposing of their livestock mortalities. I know Dr. Flynn mentioned there were some complications with some of those methods. Probably we have 5 acceptable methods of animal disposal in the state, and probably the 2 that are most likely the ways that we can deal with these are burial or composting. The tricky part with composting is you need a bulking agent, and there's a lot of limbs and material, but we're not necessarily going to be able to align the chippers to get the wood chips to the right places. And I'm understanding that some of the chippers are just, chipping and dumping on site where they're chipping down limbs. And so if burial is the methodology utilized, there's just some things that we need to remember and think about. So we protect water resources, staying away from streams, from ponds, from wells, from sinkholes. I'm from northeastern Kentucky on a small farm in Robertson County, and I know what the history is when you lose one animal here and there. And if there's a sinkhole nearby, the temptation is to just drop them in there and walk away. And we need to remember that we don't want to create more problems for ourselves down the road by contaminating water resources. So just want to remind folks to try to do the best we can to follow those guidelines. If landfilling is an option, and if there's a local landfill available that will take mortalities, sometimes they won't take them at all. There's going to be some concern over filling those landfills already with debris. So those are the 2 main documents and considerations in terms of mortality management. A couple of other things related to water issues and environmental issues. Being careful to not stockpile storm debris in a floodplain or any flood-prone area, because I know we'll have to stockpile this debris for a while. But you don't want to cause more problems if we have a flood event, if it gets stockpiled in the floodplain and it sits there for months, and then we have a big flood event, and then it washes that debris downstream into a neighbor's property or even downstream on your own property. So making sure we're not stockpiling things in floodplains and not burning that mixed debris, because when we burn mixed debris like that, it creates air quality problems, and that can be health, can compromise the health of some of our already compromised communities. So just avoid burning that mixed debris. The Kentucky Division for Air Quality has some guidance as well for what's allowable for burning. But those are some of the things to remember. Also, one last thing about specifically with drinking water is that, paying attention to which water systems are offline, how long they're offline, and when they go back online, paying attention to boil water advisories and following CDC guidance. So extension also, I know Dare had our website posted earlier. The College of Agriculture, Food and Environment has a site, and we've got information there too, and links to CDC for recommendations for drinking water as well. So I think I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Amanda. We appreciate that. It's another one of those things that that doesn't really hit you until you start thinking about the dead animals and all. And as opposed to my wife, it was one of the first things she thought about. She asked about that. So it's good information. I appreciate it. I'm going to circle back now, and we have on Becky Thompson from the Kentucky Cattlemen's Association, and she's going to share some of the efforts that the Cattlemen's are doing. They're also a partner in this entire effort, and so Becky, if you're on, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dare. First of all, I want to express I don't even know what to say. Our hearts go out to our partners in Princeton and all of our cattlemen across the state. This is a really difficult time for everybody, and our hearts go out to you, and just know we're here. We're waiting to help. We want to help, but we know you're overwhelmed as well. So we're being patient, and we're taking a breath. The first thing I want to say is we have been taking calls from our members across Western Kentucky since Saturday morning. We've been listening to their stories, hearing their struggles on losing barns, losing whole herds, all of their fences. And we continue to reach out to members, our county presidents and board members, and just try and, continue to establish and collect that data on their behalf so we can help them leverage those resources at a later time once we figure out what those processes look like. The second thing I want to mention, and Dare's got it there on the screen, is our Kentucky Cattlemen's Foundation. It was established in 1991 and is able to kind of be in place for situations like this that allow us to collect money on behalf of people that are willing to donate. So we've had an outpouring of calls from across the United States. Our counterparts in the West, the Colorado Cattlemen's Association, the Iowa Cattlemen's Association, Texas Cattle Feeders, Kansas Livestock Association, they've all called. They're all wanting to help, but we've told them, just give us a minute to kind of get our feet back up underneath us. And once we figure out what we need, we'll let you know. There's already been money sent in, just like Farm Bureau, we've got those donations coming in right now. So again, we're making lists. We've got lists of people ready to donate hay, ready to donate fencing equipment. But we're waiting to kind of get more information and then be able to help with that process as the need arises. So again, we're so sorry, and our hearts go out to you, and we're just ready to help. Thanks, dear.
Thank you very much, Becky, and we appreciate the efforts of the Cattlemen's Association for sure. And you guys are in most every county, so touched a lot of your local membership as well. So we appreciate it. So the last person I have on the list is we have Jennifer Farmer from the FSA agency, and she wanted to share some of the federal efforts that are in place to help producers out. So Jennifer, are you still with us tonight?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
It took a long time to get to you, but we got here and we appreciate
I hope
you
I'm
being
worth the
with us.
wait.
All right.
Okay, a couple of programs that the USDA through Farm Service Agency is going to have. We have one program that's called the Emergency Conservation Program. What that is short for would be for these guys that lost their fence, debris in their cropland, things like that. We will do cost share on helping assist them put the fence back and to pick up the debris. The only thing that they need to do right now is to contact their local county office and get their name and number on a list. And then once that sign up starts, they will give them a call to come in and sign some paperwork. They can go ahead and start with the cleanup. Since this is an emergency type thing, you can go ahead and fix your fences and pick up your debris. That won't be any problem. Would probably be a good idea if you took pictures before you started cleanup, but that is not an issue. The second thing that I wanted to talk to you all about tonight is the Livestock Indemnity Program. And what that will be is for, I've heard you say tonight that several people all over have lost their herds. So there are several ways to get reimbursed for those. Main thing is you have 30 calendar days from the time that this happened to report those to the FSA office. I know if it's where you can and you can get a photo of the animal, that's the best, easiest thing to do. But if you can't, there are several other options for you, even as simple as your calendar. Like I know my husband keeps his just on a calendar on the wall whenever he has a cow born or a calf born, and when one passes away, he just keeps up with it like that. So in these instances where you cannot get a dated photo, then you can do things like that. So that is available for the people that have lost their cows. Another thing that LIP would be eligible for is several people across the state have the tornado tore up their chicken barns. Those chickens would also be eligible for a payment. So those guys will be definitely getting in touch with and getting them reimbursed on those chickens. So there are several good programs. We're starting to get the word out. The only office that we have right now that is not open is the Graves County Service Center. Obviously, they do not have power, but they're being serviced out of the Callaway County office. So those producers can get serviced, just they're gonna have to drive a little bit. So if you all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I just wanted to let you all know, so when you all have other meetings, you can at least give them the short version that they definitely need to at least call us, and then we can go over the programs with them. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on here tonight. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you doing it, and that's good information. And any time we can have some resources to get some dollars back in the pockets of some of these farmers that had such drastic loss, that's fantastic. So appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody, we've been on here a while, and I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of places to go, but we would be happy to stay on and answer your questions and cover as many things as we can. The easiest way to do that, if you don't mind, is to go into your chat and just type them in that way. If you don't want to do it that way, or you're on the phone or whatever way, you can unmute yourself and ask a question that way as well. But we'd be happy to entertain any questions that you have. I guess to get it started, while some of them might be typing, Keith, I was wondering if, and I don't know if you have an answer for me on this, but are the donations that folks can make, are they tax deductible, or what do folks need to do in that regard? Do you have any information on that?
The donation to the Gomi fund that the commissioner put up and that we talked about, yes, that is a tax deductible donation that Farm Bureau set up through one of their foundations. The other opportunities I can't really address tonight that's been up. So Becky, maybe I know the Cattlemen's, of course, that foundation is nonprofit, so that would be deductible too. But yes, answer to that question is yes. Just one thing too, let me mention, because there was a question, I think, in the text box a little while ago. This logistical program that Craig and I've talked about, we really want to help with short-term needs and long-term needs. So if it's feed or hay, that's more than welcome to come through the system. If it's longer term, like more permanent fencing and things like that, or temporary fencing, the way electric fence, those things can come through. We're looking both short-term and long-term here for these items. And so, the email that was put out this afternoon by Craig goes both ways. Those requesting information and those that have something from their county that they want to put on the donation list or provide on the donation list, that email is good for both the need and those donations too from those counties.
Great. Craig, do you have an idea or any idea, or does anybody about like the actual material donations and all? Anybody have any idea how those fall? I've already had a guy contacting me today wondering where he can donate a heifer. So,
well, I think that the goal is to have everything go through what we put together with KDA. So that we can track everything and that nothing kind of falls through the cracks. I don't know about animal donations and all that. If what we're dealing with now is what counties need. So if a producer comes and tells an agent, hey, I've lost, in your example, I've lost too many heifers and I need to replace some. Do you know of anybody that's willing to donate some? Then if that was in the system, then we could facilitate that. So it's needs based. That's what we're trying to do. And it's kind of like Sharon and Courtney and Daniel was saying that sometimes you get donated things that you really can't use. We could put them in the system, but whether they get allocated or not, is whether they need to be, it's whether they're needed or not. I guess is a good way to answer that.
Okay.
Hey, Derek, can I just add,
yep.
Through the KCA Foundation, any money is tax deductible, and any items can also be tax deductible as well. We have the ability to write a letter that they can use for tax purposes back with their record keeping process. So we've already done that on some hay and fencing materials in other situations.
Okay, thanks. And I know people aren't thinking about making a donation for the deduction, but it is a question that comes up.
And there's a question from Courtney about the supply chain disruption due to the pandemic. And the answer to that is yes, we've already experienced some things about some requests that they needed some items and they can't get them because of the supply chain issues that's already occurred. So I'm sure we're going to experiencing some of that. But I think if we reach out with the number of states that are offering to help that have called us, we can reach out to some of them about some of those items and see if we can't get them here.
Yep.
So in that line of thought, if somebody is willing to haul stuff, and I've had several people actually call, hey, I've got trailers, I want to haul something down there. Keith, do you want us to put that on your site too? So talk to Shane. He put it on the site.
Yeah, we'll certainly take those and put those in the database on the donation side, probably kind of keep them in their own category so that if we have, for example, I had a call Monday morning about, I've got barbed wire in London, Kentucky, but I can't move it. And so if we had those kind of things in this database, then we potentially could connect, a trucker or someone who just has a gooseneck trailer willing to move something like that. So yes.
Yeah, and I had an agent in Eastern Kentucky, had a producer call him and said, I have 30 round bells. I'll donate, but I can't move them. Do you have anybody who can move them for me? And we've had some people that volunteered. We just need to get them in the database.
And Craig, that's a really good point. We've started picking up in the last day or so some need for volunteers and a lot of people wanting to volunteers. We really haven't figured out how to put that in the system yet, but if you all send it, we'll figure it out. So that is something that is kind of started being discussed in the last 12 hours or so in our office is exactly, can we logistically manage volunteers or handle volunteers through this too? And we think we can.
Yeah, but another maybe good use of some of that, Keith, would be folks, getting it from point A just to the central location or the pickup points, the county offices and all. Some people might even need some help there, but yeah.
Right.
Coordination is going to be the big deal.
There's another question from Chelsea asking about, and I think Keith touched on this, so I'll read it, Keith, and you can answer it. How are the farmers in each area going to be contacted to get them the items they need once we report what supplies have been sent to KDA?
Again, this is going to be to the county. So once we have the donor of the item, we will contact the county who made the request and connect that donor and the county extension office or agent, whoever that point of contact is in the county. And that material would be delivered directly to the county is the intent here. I'm assuming that most extension offices and agents are going to combine multiple producer requests into one request to us or multiple requests to us. So it would, once it's delivered to the county, it's really up to the extension agent and the extension service and potentially like a local cattlemen's organization. I view the County Cattlemen's Association, some of these others assisting the Extension Service, Farm Bureau, others kind of stepping in to kind of help on that county level make this work. And so, once that material is identified to go to that county and is delivered, then the county would be responsible for the distribution to the individual producers.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I know this is a little off topic, but we discussed this a little bit with Dr. Wood this morning, but and Shane, this may even come into your direction, but as material begins to be collected and cleanup starts, the logistics of removing debris and on farms when cleanup begins, has there been any progress made with regards to that?
Oh yeah. It's a beehive of activity.
Let's see. Is Anne Marie
Good grain
still on?
prices several years ago? Every farm has a dozer and a track hoe now, so it's moving along. And we've got dry weather. We've been blessed that we didn't have bad weather as of yet coming in behind that, and we've had sunshine since the event. So,
Yeah.
Shane, is the county road department able to do anything, or the state road department in those areas? Are they doing anything to help remove that stuff? I assume they were.
Our EOC, we have a plan in place. They're supposed to be sorting that stuff to the roadsides, similar from our ice storm where we piled everything on the road and they come and grabbed it into 3 separate piles per wherever it's coming from, where they can come and get those already separated and haul that off. We've got fires going right now in the city limits. Princeton's aglow, even with the power out, it's aglow right now from cleanup.
I will say we do have folks at the Emergency Operations Center from KDA, and the message we're getting is there's starting to be a shortage of dumpsters and crews to be able to do some of this work. And their just recommendations now is just to pile it until they can get additional resources. So that's the message that we have been given because of such a shortage. They are trying, but there is a shortage.
Right. Now, I don't know if Anne Marie's still on, but we talked about this in the morning meeting we had on the governor's agriculture working group, that is an issue and it's going to be an issue going forward. And as Dr. Flynn said, the recommendation is to have them pilot in a location that's kind of away from any livestock that might get injured or anything. They're on the farm until they can come up with a long-term strategy on how to get rid of it and all. So, debris is an issue. The other thing, Commissioner Tony Hutton from the Department of Environmental Protection, he suggested if there's any hazardous material out there you suspect it is, like transformers that may have blown on to farmers' lands, that you contact his office or contact him directly, and they will work. They'll send their emergency management team out there to help deal with those kinds of things. And he encourages the farmers not to try to move that type of material or anything that they think might be hazardous. So you could pass that along to them as well.
Good deal. Anything else? Not seeing any in the chat room. I'm going to, while people are thinking about the final questions, I'm going to share. This will be just to show you that at some point in time we're going to get back to normalcy, I hope, or at least some level of it. So we'll remind everybody of our next webinar, which will be in January, and we maybe can even share a few updates at that point in time with what's happening with the recovery, and hopefully have made a lot of progress by that time. But we are going to start sharing a little bit more management information at that time as well. So join us then if you can. If you're not a part of our normal group and want to be, you can send me an email and I will get you on the mailing list. All right, guys, I'm not seeing any more questions come through and haven't heard from anybody. So I really want to thank all of the panelists for joining us tonight. We appreciate all the great information and insight. Once again, we wish everybody well out in the western part of the state, and we're all pulling for you. If you can't tell it by now, then you should be able to, because there's a lot of effort from a lot of places. It's being focused on that part of the state from not only other parts of Kentucky, but the rest of the country and the world. So hang in there, and we'll get as much done as we can. Anybody else have any final comments? If not, I'm going to turn us loose. So speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Everybody take care and be safe out there.